Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Do you have trouble reading things on your screen? Well, you may just simply want to adjust the resolution of your display. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now this is actually a very controversial topic. I'm not sure why, because it's just a setting that you could change. And just because somebody else chooses a different display resolution than you doesn't affect you. Different people are going to prefer to have their displays look differently. And also people's eyes vary greatly. There are people who have perfect vision who have no problem viewing screens at any resolution. And other people that need to wear glasses, and even with glasses they have difficulty seeing computer screens sometimes. So just because one screen resolution works great for you doesn't mean you should tell everybody that's the only one they should be using. Now my screen usually looks like this when I'm doing tutorials, but I would never use my screen at this resolution. I'm actually using a resolution where the screen is 1280 by 720, which at 27 inches makes everything very large. But if I made it any smaller, then it will be difficult to see some of the items, like the menu items here at the top of the screen, when you're viewing this as a video on a web page. I see other tutorials online that constantly make the mistake of having the screen resolution set to something more normal, but then you can't see what's going on when you watch the tutorial, or you're forced to go into full screen mode with the video tutorial to actually see things. Now if I go to System Settings and then to Displays, I could select my display here and I could see just 5 options. There's a default option here which is actually twice the resolution that I'm using now. That's 1440 vertically. That's because I'm using the Apple Studio display which is 2880 pixels high. So perfect Retina display is 4x, which means that I'll have 1440. But I'm actually using something that's not even listed here as my screen resolution to double that, so it's 720 high. Just for these tutorials. I don't work that way normally. Normally I would work usually at the default, which looks like this. Now you can see how much smaller the menu items here at the top look and how much harder that is to view in a tutorial. But it may be good for you working with the same screen I've got. Now what you should set your screen to really depends on how well you can see things. So if these menu items look too small, then you're going to go something to the left, like this, and you can see how it makes the menu items larger, or even larger if you need to. You can actually get to more options than just the 5 here by using the Control key, clicking, and you have Show List. And now I've got more than the 5 different options there. Matter of fact, you can go all the way to the maximum, which makes everything super tiny and almost impossible for anybody to see the menu items here at the top. You can go to the default here. You can choose the one I use when I shoot my videos, or you could choose something in between like this. Now note, when you're using anything except the default, you're going to see the message, using a scaled resolution may affect performance. May being the primary term there. For most things it's not going to affect the performance at all, especially if you have a newer Mac. If you're using Pages to do word processing, then it's really not going to matter performance wise. Maybe if you're playing a game, or if you're working with 3D graphics or really large Photoshop documents, things like that, maybe then you might see a slight performance change. But what's more important, being able to see what you're doing or getting a little bit more performance out of your Mac's GPUs. So I would never not choose one of these because I'm afraid of a performance change. At the very least, I would choose the resolution that seems about right for me, like that. But then if I think I detect a performance difference, then try it in default and see if the trade-off is worth it. Never just assume that the performance difference is more important than you being able to actually get things done. After all, the main performance bottleneck is usually you being able to see what you're doing, being able to manipulate the pointer, being able to read what's on the screen, being able to drag and drop things, and so on. And also notice how easy it is to change these. So if you do have a particular app that seems like it works a little bit better at default, well then change your screen to default when using that app, but otherwise leave it somewhere else where your eyes are more comfortable. And don't ever let somebody else tell you what resolution you should have your screen set to. I'm not going to tell you that any of these are better than any of the others. They're all there for a reason because each one may be the best for certain people with different vision capabilities and preferences. Now also keep in mind that just because you change the resolution here, so perhaps you make the menu items bigger, so perhaps in the Finder you could see the items here in the left sidebar or the names of folders and files better, doesn't mean that you have to have the same size inside the apps. For instance, I have Pages open here. So let's say I've got the resolution set to this and this looks great. But if I go to a higher resolution like the default, now this looks too small. Well, you can go and zoom in here to make the text bigger for Pages. So you still have complete control over the size of things inside the content of a document. The same thing for web pages. This is what it looks like here, but let's say if I went to a different resolution like this, if this is too big, I could always use View, Zoom in or out, or the keyboard shortcuts for that, to change the resolution of what I see in the browser. So think of the resolution for the interface elements like the menu bar and the resolution for documents or web pages as being separate things that you can control independently. And keep in mind that what you see here for different resolutions is really going to depend on how many pixels your screen has. I know a lot of people still choose cheap 1440 screens for their Macs. And when you do so, you're not getting that many pixels. It's considerably less pixels than, say, a 4K screen. So there's only going to be so many choices here before you're at the maximum resolution, usually of 2560 by 1440. A 4K screen will give you more options, and of course a 5K screen gives you the maximum amount of options like I've got here. But you're definitely limiting yourself when you're getting a 1440 screen, which is one of the reasons I don't recommend them. Even if it looks okay for most reasons, it does stop you from perhaps going to a higher resolution. At times you may want that. But I hope this gives you some food for thought when thinking about different resolutions. Try some different resolutions. It's easy to switch between them. Don't be afraid of that little warning about performance and worry more about how things look to your eyes and how you prefer to view things. And don't let anybody else tell you which resolution you should be using. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.